Hi, in today's video, we are going to discuss about Intelliji IDE. Because as we all know, whenever we are working on applications like programming like Java, at the same time Groovy and Gosu programming, because Gosu is a kind of programming language which is majorly used in developing some guideware applications, like when you want to do any configurations, right? So if you write anything like for guideware application and all, for that generally Gosu is a programming language which normally use. So if you want to use any Gosu programming or something, like, it's always important for us to have IDEs, because without IDEs and all, working on this is not something possible. In this regard, especially whenever we want to create any project, especially on Intelliji IDE, here you can see there is an option called new project, where if you want to create any new project and all, here we have to provide the name of a project. And if you want to store this information and all, we can create Git repository, because Git is a repository where whatever the code are we going to write, right? It will be acted as a code repository. So there we can install all the code, etc., all that. At the same time, if you want to use any programming language as separate, here you can see like Go, right? So at the same time, PHP, Python, Ruby, Rust, Scala, all that. So wherein here I can see, right? So Gosu programming is one of the language where we can use, especially for people who are working on this guideware application, especially on property and casualty insurance, all that, right? That is one thing which can be used here. That is one thing which we can install, because these are the plugins, right? So because for this Intellij IDE, there are different plugins you can see, right? So different plugins are being used. So whatever the plugins we have required and all, so these plugins can be installed with these IDs. Then only whatever the code are we going to write, everything will be in it. For example, if you want to use any JavaScripting or else Ruby language was there, right? So Ruby on Rails, normally we call it, right? Ruby on Rails programming or something. At the same time, yeah, you can see here, right? So yeah, you can see even this to build the system and all, IntelliJ can be used, or else Maven can also be used here. So Maven is also a programming which normally we can use here. At the same time, when it comes to the languages and all, either Java, because Java is the basic front for any programming. If you want to learn any programming, it is always important to have an object oriented programming for sure, which is essentially important. So for that, generally Java is one of the programming language we use. Apart from that, of course, there is another programming, the other language is called Kotlin, because widely across industries, few people are using even Kotlin as a programming language. Next, Groovy scripting and Groovy, right? All these things are comes under that. Or else if you want to have any Java scripting or something like that. So all these things we can use it, right? So this is what it is. When it comes to JDK and all everything, if you want to add any kind of SJDKs, right? So all these and all here we can use. Otherwise, no SDK is what it was here, right? So here, if you want to create any project and all, wherein first of all we must be given the name of the project, right? So simply I'm just giving some name of the project over here, right? So in this we can do it. And if you want to create and all everything, wherein we have to specify that, right? So creation of new project is what and how. Usually this is how generally this project has to be created. So whenever this project is created, as I told you, there are different applications we can use, as I mentioned and stated earlier. Because different plugins we can use even for test management, even for other any programming languages we want to use somewhere, all that stuff. So those languages can also be installed in it, right? So this is here you can see, this is where generally the project called my project, whatever the project which is called my project, which was created by me. So if there is any kind of reformatting of code, whatever is essentially required, the kind of consoles we have, right? So, or else if you want to extract any external libraries. So all these things we can be seen here, right? So all these things can be seen here. You can see opening main.java, because Java language extensively we use, right? So this is where generally this Java language can be used. Whichever the programming, this is where generally this main.java is what will be used when we are working on these IDEs and all everything, right? So this is one thing which normally we can do when we are working on. At the same time, whatever the package is relating to the project or relating to the libraries and all everything, that we have to be seen with. At the same time, if there is any project files and all everything we have to do. And if you want to create any setup JDK and all, so that also we can do that, right? So that is one thing which normally we can do when we are working on the projects, especially when we are working on different projects and all everything. This is what and how generally we can use. Not only this, if you want to run any kind of code or something like, right? So any kind of code, or if you want to analyze any kind of codes, all these things will also be used. So this is one thing which is especially required, because these are whatever I may explaining you, these are the basics of programming which we have to be learned with. So when we are working on the application, we need to run on the programming languages, whatever is essentially important when we are using. This is something required for the people who are working on programming languages, especially when we use Java, right? So at the same time, Gosu programming and all. So this is what is needed for people, even people who are working as a business analyst, etc. of that roles. It is always learned to have some knowledge over programming, either it can be Java, majorly to understand. Or else people who are working on guideware application, it is always better to learn Gosu programming also. Of course, Groovy scripting is also there. Groovy language can also be learned with Kotlin, all that. Right? This is all about this video. I hope you got an idea over this, right? So this is all good. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, please reach out to the contact details, which will be posted in below to this video. Thank you.